everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my tips for going to Disneyland Paris. I'm lucky enough that as a family we have been to Disneyland Paris twice. I absolutely love it there, but often when I tell people we've been, they think that it's a holiday that's going to cost an absolute fortune, and it doesn't have to. My first tip about Disneyland Paris would be you do not have to stay in a Disney hotel. Don't feel pressured to stay in a Disney hotel. There are loads of beautiful hotels just outside of Disney that still have the shuttle service to the parks every day, and they offer great family friendly facilities just like the Disney park hotels do. With the Disney hotels you do get extra magic hours, which means you get to go in the park, I think it's an hour early, and that helps with things like if you want to get to certain meet and greets or you want to start queuing for certain things that you think are going to be busy, and that's great. But at that time there are a lot of people still in the park because there are a lot of hotels and a lot of people are utilising that facility, so it is still quite busy at that time. It's definitely something that is beneficial if you can afford to stay in a Disney hotel, and there are some affordable Disney hotels, but don't feel the pressure. We have never stayed in a Disney hotel and we haven't missed out on not having extra magic hours. We've still done everything we wanted to do, so I wouldn't let that be the be all and end all for you if you're trying to save some extra money. My next tip would be to plan everything that you want to do. You cannot possibly make a tight schedule of everything, but make sure you have a list and an idea in mind of rides you want to go on, of meet and greets you want to attend, what time the parade's on, what shows you want to go to, because that's going to ensure that you're able to be more organised in the park. You will waste a lot of time traipsing backwards and forwards if you aren't organised, and that's time that you could be spent doing other things. So bear that in mind and try and get an idea of the things you want to do and where they are. If you have little ones, the meet and greets are absolutely worth doing. It to them isn't just somebody in a costume. It's amazing. The experience is second to none, and I would definitely think that spending that time queuing is definitely worth it if it's going to make your little one's day. And of course, all meet and greets are free, so you might as well make use of those. My next tip is to utilise the Fastpass facility. Certain rides have Fastpass availability. You can find out a full list of what rides support this on their website, but everyone that gets a park ticket gets a Fastpass. You can have one Fastpass at a time, and you go to the ride, you put the pass in the machine, and it gives you a time in which to come back, and it means that you get to queue jump a little bit. There are two rides that really stand out to me as must for Fastpass, and this is whether you go at peak time or off peak time. The first one is in the Studio Park, and it's the Ratatouille ride. The queue for that can be phenomenal, and the Fastpass queue tends to go down really fast, which means that they run out of fast passes, that you can get a fast pass. So make sure you fast pass that as soon as you can if that's something you want to go on. Otherwise you're going to be queuing forever, and that's no fun for anybody. And the next ride is in the other park, and that's the Peter Pan ride. The queue for that is crazy, and it's often not reflective of actually how long you're going to queue. So it might say an hour and 45 minutes, but we were queuing well over 2.5 hours. So you really want to think about trying to fast pass rides like that, because queuing for that long is no fun if you can get there a little bit faster. On the topic of queuing, if you're going with little ones, remember that queuing is no fun. It's no fun for you as an adult, and it's definitely no fun for them. And I can tell you, and they get restless and they get bored, it's going to be even less fun for anybody in earshot. So think about queuing and how long realistically your little ones are going to be able to queue for. Think about things like snacks for in the queue. Think about things like games you can play. If you have a tablet or something for them to play on, that would be really useful, and it just helps keep them entertained, stops them getting bored, and just makes your life that little bit easier. When we went, my little boy was 4 and he was 5, and that meant that his legs get really restless. Standing in a queue is no fun. Disney itself is a lot of walking, and that's a lot of extra work and things that you are putting on their little bodies. So for us, we took a fold-up camping stool. It's really small, really compact, and you can put it in a backpack. It's that small, but it just pops up when you need it to, and it was great for things like long queues. We could put it up and you could sit down, you could have a snack, you could chill out, and it just made everything more bearable. And it was also really useful to use during the parades and things, so we had somewhere to sit, and especially because when you're queuing for the parades, they do take a long time if you want to get a good spot, so you want them to have somewhere where they can kind of sit down. So I definitely recommend taking one of those. My next tip is probably one that you're going to think sounds obvious, but it really isn't, and that is to be vigilant. It's really easy to get swept up in the magic, and you'll be looking at things in the shop and you put your bag down, and that's a prime opportunity for pickpockets and thieves to take your belongings. And if somebody takes your belongings while you're there, it's going to ruin your whole holiday. My next tip, if you want to save money, is don't eat in the park. The prices are overinflated and the food isn't that great, if I'm honest. There are loads of fabulous restaurants and it is all wonderful, but we didn't eat in the park at all because it just meant that we were able to save extra money. What we did was we took in with us snacks and food and drink to keep us going, so we didn't have to spend money on those, and we just made sure that we ate at places outside of Disney, and they were far cheaper. We got really great, delicious, substantial food for fabulous prices, so I definitely recommend doing that. Just outside the Disney park, I think there's a McDonald's, and there's also close by a it's called Val d'Europe, and it's like a shopping centre, and they have a food court there, and they have loads of different restaurants, Chinese, Indian, Italian, and you can go there and get a full family meal, 3 courses, for a fantastic price. So definitely consider where you're eating and things like that, because if you're trying to save money, you don't want it to be gobbled up by just things like food, especially if it's not great food. On the topic of food and drink, do not buy food and drink from your hotel if you can help it. We had a car and we were able to find a supermarket where we could buy water and snacks and drinks and all of that sort of stuff. The first year when we went, within the first 10 minutes of being there, we bought some drinks from a vending machine and we spent over €20 for 3 of us. And that over a few days throughout the day, especially if it's hot, is going to get quite expensive. And then we went to the supermarket which was really close by, and we got loads of waters and drinks and snacks, and we spent less than €20 on everything. So definitely consider whether you can get to a supermarket. The Val d'Europe that I was talking about, you can get the shuttle from Disney to Val d'Europe, and they have a supermarket within there, so it's definitely worth doing to stock up on those kinds of things, because again, it's things that you don't want to be wasting your money on if you don't have to. And my final tip is to download the Disneyland Paris app. The app shows you the queue times, which means that you don't have to go to that specific ride to find out what the queue time is, because there's nothing worse than wasting your time trekking all the way across the park to find out that the queue time is like 2 hours and it later. So you can have a look at the app, it's real time, and it shows you what the queue times are, and then you can decide on what the best course of action will be. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that if you are going to Disneyland Paris, this will help, or it will help you be able to go to Disneyland Paris. I can honestly tell you, it doesn't cost the earth, it doesn't have to. There are certain tips you can do to save money and to make your experience a lot more enjoyable. If you've got any tips for going to Disneyland Paris, do leave them in the comments below, and let's all share and help each other out. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week for another video. Take care guys, bye!